Hi there, my name is Tom Jenks and I'll be hosting your webinar today. This webinar looks at why Excel scheduling is ruining your business, but moreover, it discusses ways to stay competitive in these rapidly changing economic circumstances. During this webinar, Martijn will address some of the major challenges most manufacturing companies are facing and will show you how you're able to solve these in a live demonstration. If you have any questions, you can type these in the panel and we will try to answer them all at the end of the session. Now I would like to introduce you to today's presenter, Martijn Donkersloot, who has over 15 years of experience in supply chain management and advanced planning and scheduling. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Martijn.
Thank you, Tom. My name is Martijn Donkersloot. I'm working for ATS Global in the Netherlands, and it's my pleasure to be your presenter of today's webinar. In the next 45 minutes, I'd like to discuss some of the issues and the impact on our businesses caused by the corona crisis. What we see in most of the countries that they are in a lockdown situation. Most of those countries closed their manufacturing plants. Others, they face difficulties in social distancing, resulting in lower productivity. Moreover, there's a lot of uncertainty around the world. Think about the second wave of infections. We actually don't know whether local government will extend or loosen the regulations in the short term. And while nobody is able to predict the economic impact on the long term, you can find a lot of these predictions, publications on the internet. They all slightly differ, but the majority predict that the crisis will hit us harder than every other previous crisis. Well, I'm not an expert on this, but we all understand that if the global lockdown will last longer, it is realistic that the global economy will decline even more than what is shown here in this graph. So one of these topics I like to discuss today is about how to survive this economic recession. But on the long term, it will become let's say the battle of the smartest instead of the battle of the fittest. So you need to prepare for this situation as well if everything becomes normal again. So this is all about becoming more agile, responsive and flexible, and how to make better decisions and to beat your competition. So for example, in the pharma and the medical device food companies, of course, they are booming right now and they are struggling, increasing their production capacity. While other manufacturers like breweries or component suppliers and even the clothing industry, they need to change their focus. Here you can see some examples of companies that now manufacture products that they're able to sell. And if we have a closer look into the medical device industry, we see that they are struggling to keep up with the increased demand. So, for example, Philips now produces 4 times more ventilators than before. And besides the operator availability, their main challenge is how to manage the supply chain. So they purchase over 200 components made in more than 25 countries worldwide. So for most of us, the delivery performance of our supplier is still uncertain. And the question is, how do we manage this? And, well, digitalization of your scheduling process is one of the options you can consider. It will not only help you to survive now, but it also helps you to prepare for a ramp up once everything becomes normal again. So before we are going to start this webinar, I assume you'd like to know a little bit more about our company. ATS is a focus on value-added solutions that really work for you. The inner circle here shows that we have worked in a wide range of industries with over 4,000 customers in the last 3 decades. We have 25 countries and employ more than 1,100 people worldwide. So on the right-hand side, you can see 2 distinct operating models in working with our customers. So we know what it is to be a manufacturer. We can turn your requirements into solutions today, but we can also work with you to define strategies and digital roadmaps that will ensure a rapid return on investment. So the last slide about ATS is the global presence. As said, is a global company with local presence in over 25 countries, which makes us one of the few companies in the world that is able to roll out solutions globally. All these companies, all these companies, or the majority of these companies, have to deal with similar challenges due to the impact of the coronavirus. So their first concern is how to manage the uncertainty in this fast-changing environment. So we will discuss the increased complexity due to the reduced number of orders, the smaller batch sizes most of the time, and for sure the shorter lead times you need to achieve. But we also will have a look at the operator availability and how to manage the uncertainty of the supply chain of raw materials and components. Well, you can imagine that it's obvious, let's say it this way, it's obvious that it is very difficult to schedule these orders in a cost-effective way. So what we also like to show you is how to speed up the scheduling process, create more accurate schedules, and how to reduce the cost of manufacturing by composing multiple scenarios and choose the best strategy for your company. So due to the shorter lead time, smaller batch sizes, and at the same time to be able to respond quickly to frequently changing customer demand, we also like to show you how to gain a more controlled way of production and how to instruct your operators from the shop floor with accurate and up-to-date information. So it's all about becoming more agile, flexible, and the ability to make better decisions. So as said, the manufacturing process is much more complex nowadays. And for most of the manufacturers, this is a new reality. It's very difficult for them to manage. They did not focus on being agile and flexible in the past. While they had the luxury of long-term contracts and predictable demands. So in the old days, most of them, us, were able to manage the production schedule by the use of an Excel sheet. But that's too time-consuming and not efficient anymore. So to be able to become more agile, it's key to eliminate the manual and time-consuming systems. Otherwise, your planners will turn into firefighters and trying to keep things running instead of the strategic decision makers trying to achieve your business objectives, like expanding your market share, for example. So what we like to show you today is how to manage smaller batch sizes and utilize resource capacity, reduce the number of shifts, operators, but without lowering your delivery performance, of course. We also want to show you how you can consider material shortages and delays and improve your delivery performance to become capable to promise. We will create a couple of scenarios and then we are going to release one of these scenarios to the shop floor to supply them with up-to-date work to lists. So the companies we talk with, they really like to start their digital journey by simplifying their scheduling methods and replace the numerous Excel sheets with a centralized advanced scheduling tool. And advanced scheduling takes into account data like sales orders, the finite capacity of your resources, labor and material availability, and it connects multiple disciplines within your organization. So by sharing these single source of truth across multiple departments, you will be able to well, you actually enable them to make better decisions as a team. So how to manage the uncertainty. We talked about the increased complexity. Number of orders is smaller. The batch sizes are smaller. The customers require shorter lead times, and you also need to manage the uncertainty of your supply chain in terms of raw materials and components. So as a planner, you need to have some kind of control mechanism. And if we don't give them a tool, most of them will start building one of these themselves. Most of the planners are used and comfortable with using Microsoft. So Excel spreadsheets seems to be a perfect tool for them to start with. They start with one or maybe two sheets, and then they add queries and lookup mechanisms. And after a couple of months, they created huge Excel monsters. So most of these sheets become actually too large to load. We have seen examples where it took a couple of hours to start up an Excel sheet. And what we see is that the routines and the calculations they used, they're actually only known by one or two people in the company. So actually, this is a real risk in terms of business continuity. And you should realize that you're in risk if your planner is on holiday or maybe decides to switch jobs. You're completely out of control if this is your scheduling mechanism. And although most of the planners they are able to create a schedule by the use of Excel. It's still very time consuming, and they need to do that every day, sometimes multiple times per day. And I like to compare how we can help you to improve. So if you use an Excel-based method, your day could look like this. So in the morning, you need to manually check the actual process and change the priorities of sales orders, for example. Then you need to manually adjust and update the schedule. You need to add new sales orders and works orders. You need to check if it will fit within the available capacity, if you're able to meet the delivery dates. You need to assign the operations to the individual resources, so you need to determine a sequence. Then you need to check the availability of your raw materials, or maybe you need to compose a purchase plan yourself. And once this is checked, you need to check the availability of the additional constraints. In this case, operators, or maybe you need tools besides your resources and your people. And most of the time, there are multiple iterations needed. So before you can manually enter the start and the end dates in your ERP system, there's a lot of work to be done. And then last but not least, you need to create a work-to list for the people on the shop floor. So you can imagine that once they are finished, the schedule is already outdated due to, for example, breakdown or maintenance or people leaving home sick or something like that. So it's very time consuming and it does not allow the planners to become responsive or to find out better strategies. On the other end, if you use Opcenter scheduling, it allows them to do all of this within a couple of minutes, which we are going to show you during the demonstration. So let's have a look at some of the features of advanced scheduling. This slide shows what we call a Gantt chart. So on the left-hand side, you can see all the resources. On the top, you will find the horizon. The gray shaded areas are the off-shift periods. So we work in 2 shifts per day in this example. During the night, the plant is closed. This red dotted area indicates that there is a breakdown. This machine will be up and running at 12 o'clock this afternoon, hopefully. So what we see is that these bars, these are the operations. Each and every operation occupies the finite capacity of your plant. And as you can see, the software also respects the operational relationship. So you need to start cutting your tubes, and after that you're able to weld them, and after welding you're able to paint them. So this is what we call an operational relationship. There is also another relationship shown here. So we need to produce several components like the frame, but also the wheels and the pedals before we are able to finally assemble the bike. So the system will always consider these relationships. Even if there is a breakdown, it will be able to repair the schedule accordingly. So this example shows you how that it is very important, and that it's very difficult if you have a Excel-based system to determine the downstream effects of any delay. So in this case, we need to produce three works orders. So we need to create the wheels, we need to create the frames, we need to purchase the saddles before we are able to assemble the bike. But if for some reason, let's say a machine breakdown or something similar, work order 1 is delayed, the assembly order here, the work order 3, is not scheduled in the right position anymore. So this is what we call an invalid schedule, which cannot be executed. So if we don't anticipate the assembly line is waiting till works order 1 is finished, then we will lose actually a lot of time. So if this occurs, we should anticipate and at least move the assembly works order. So if this appears, this should be the right solution. And if possible, another works order, for example, works order number 4, could start earlier, assuming that all the components are available. So the Opcenter schedule will help you to create a schedule which is valid, and it will also keep it up to date if something changes. And actually the same counts for material supply. So this example explains what should happen if the delivery of some of your purchased items is delayed. So what we need to do, we need to purchase two materials before we're able to start this works order. But if the delivery of one of these purchased orders is delayed, this is again an invalid schedule. So you need to adapt and to adjust your schedule accordingly. And this is something the scheduling system does automatically for you. We also want to see which orders are affected by these shortages. For example, when your supplier is not able to deliver the full amount of the materials you ordered. So besides the color settings in the Gantt chart itself, this graph shows and allows you also to navigate through the complete chain, and shows all the relationships, including the shortages, as you can see here. So in this case, what we did is we scheduled over 200 operations, considering a 2-week horizon. It took the system just a couple of seconds to do this. And as you can see, it visualizes the current load. You can immediately see the impact on the finite capacity of your resources. But in this case, during the first couple of days, less operators are available. So maybe they are in quarantine or something like that. So if we don't anticipate, we will overload the number of assembly operators available, which will automatically cause a lot of troubles in the future. So by the scheduled repair option, practice from scheduling will automatically adjust your schedule according to this new reality. While the scheduling system is able to generate and also update an accurate schedule in seconds, you will probably understand that the life of a planner will change. So instead of entering data in Excel and check line by line, they will now save a lot of time, of course, but they also are able to keep the schedule up to date, which enables them also to answer the what-if questions. Which brings us to the next manufacturer's concern, which is how to reduce cost. So, due to the fact that our customers order smaller batch sizes more frequently, the complexity is now has been increased due to this economical crisis. So the question is, how are we able to reduce the cost of manufacturing? And one of these options is to increase your resource utilization and avoid unnecessary changeovers like cleaning or setup machines, that kind of thing. So one of the benefits of using a advanced scheduling system is the ability to reduce your changeover times. And this slide explains that you're able to gain more capacity by grouping orders. So most of the companies, they use some kind of methodology for capacity planning. It works like this. So you will load your orders into a bucket of a week, for example. So it adds the process time and the setup time. And we do that for all the orders until the bucket is completely full. So this is what we do if we use an Excel-based scheduling system. If we consider a advanced scheduling system, there's also, as said, the possibility to group orders and to gain efficiency. So for this particular example, we like to start with the green products, then go to the red products, and then go to the blue products. And as you can see in this animation, now the software is able to group same colored items to avoid unnecessary changeover times. So as you can see, when we continue this exercise, we gained 10% capacity due to the sequence of these orders. So in case there is less demand, you will probably also need less people to operate the machine. So how can you decide if it's possible to reduce the number of shifts to save money? But you cannot harm your flexibility or lower your delivery performance. So before you decide to reduce the number of operators, you should check the consequences of this decision and find out if orders will become late as a result. So if you use an Excel sheet or manual system, there is no possibility to see the impact on the decision up front. By the use of the scheduling system, you're able to compare different scenarios by just a few mouse clicks. So let's have a look at this graphic. So we are going to focus on the assembly of the bikes. We need a senior operator to do this. We have 2 senior assembly operators available, but they are not fully utilized, as you can see here on the lower end of the lower half of the picture. So sometimes we need 2, sometimes we need only 1. So by the use of the scheduling system, there is an opportunity to reduce costs of hiring these people. So we assume we only have 1 person available, like this. Then you can see that the current schedule will overload the available operators. And you can see that in the red area here. Again, by the use of the repair button, we're able to adjust the schedule based on the available number. In this case, only 1 person is needed. In this case, we saved a lot of time, we saved a lot of money, and we did not harm our delivery performance. So another example is how are we able to reduce the number of shifts without, of course, harming our delivery performance. So this slide shows you that we normally work in a 2 shifts per day, 7 days per week shift pattern. As you can see, the complete set will be finished before the due date of the 18th of January. So if we change this calendar template into one shift, 5 days per week, it will take longer before we were able to manufacture these spikes. So before it was scheduled here, and now because of the reduced available time, it will take longer. It's reasonable, I assume. So for this specific order is no issue, it will still be on time. But if we apply this to the complete set of orders, you can see that a lot of orders will become late. So the orders with the red text and the red lines will become late. So this is the alert that a lot of orders will become late. So if we have a look at the different views, same set of data, different view, you can see that a lot of these orders are in the red area here, indicating that they will become late. In this example, up to 26 days. So let's try another scenario. Instead of applying 2 shifts per day, so what we like to do is we like to apply a 2 shift per day template for Monday till Friday. So as you can see here, less orders will become late. And the same set in the different view now indicates that only a few orders will become late for just 1 day. So till now we discussed that we are able to import data from any data source like ERP or any other data source. So we will save you a lot of time. Instead of entering data, we can import these data. We created several scenarios in order to reduce the costs. We save money on the changeover time, so the cleaning and the setup time for the machines. We save money on the senior assembly operators for the final assembly. We reduce the number of shifts without lowering our delivery performance. And we also anticipated on the material shortages and operator availability. Well, what we normally do is that once you have created a couple of scenarios, we are also able to compare these by the use of these KPI reports. So in this case, the combi schedule compared to the due date schedule gives us these outcomes. So setup time is a little bit less, and also the schedule cost is much lower in this combination schedule compared to the due date schedule. So what we have told you about is how to deal with the challenges, the uncertainty, the reduced costs, the way we need to create schedules. So there is another concern. How are we able to inform our people on the shop floor with up-to-date information? So what we have seen is that we took in consideration all these items here, and we are able to create accurate schedules, up-to-date schedules, which we now are able to publish to the people on the shop floor. So we can use ERP systems or MES systems, shop floor data collection systems, so we can push the data towards those systems. And it's very important to communicate and release your current schedule to the shop floor so that everybody is aware of the job they need to execute. So if you don't have an MES system, an ERP system in place, we can supply you with similar reports like this. It's always up to date, so once you release the new schedule, this report will update as well. The operator is able to interact with this report as well. They can click on in process. They can start and stop operations themselves. And besides having up-to-date information available for your operators, the planner is also able to import these shop floor updates into the schedule and see what is happening on the shop floor without, let's say, physical inspection. So most of these benefits we already discussed, and if we have a look at some figures, We can have a look at this here as well. So of course these figures may vary and also are depending on the customer previous situation, but you can imagine that it is very beneficial to have a system in place like this. So let's go to the system itself. Here we are. So this is the starting screen. It's what we call the Workspace, easy to use interface, similar to other Microsoft products. We can import data from different data sources, like ERP, MES, Excel, Access. So it's very common to import the available data. After we imported the data, you're able to generate a schedule, and then the outcome will be released to your shop floor by the use of the release schedule functionality. The Opcenter scheduling system uses a Microsoft SQL system to store the data. And during the implementation project, we will define the required data and also determine which data will be imported from systems like ERP and MES, and which data will be entered directly into the Opcenter scheduling system itself. In most cases, we will enrich the imported data with scheduling specific features like waiting times or changeover times. So each and every, most of the time we use what we call a hybrid interface. So the data which is available will be imported, and if the data is needed, then you can enter the data within the database itself, and we will enrich your data with the scheduling specific data. So all these what we call editor windows, you're able to sort data using these kinds of filter settings or wildcards like these. You can reorganize if you like very easily. You can even add more columns and rename these columns. So color name, metal name, we renamed them ourselves. You can do that yourself as a user. The attribute fields, for example, here the metal name. We're going to schedule different types of metal in a minute. You can also change the color settings if you like. So if you want to use a different color settings, you're able to apply that yourself. And this is very important because at the end, every company is different and every company has a need for different information. So as discussed, we will import what we call the static data, but we also import dynamic data like the supply records. So in this case, we do have a couple of products in stock already. Could be purchased items, could be semi-finished products. And here you can also see our purchased items, which will be in the future. We also imported your demands. So in this case, it's a sales order file, but it could also be a what we call a forecast order or a stock replenishment order generated by your ERP system, for example. If available, we can import the orders. If you don't have orders stored within any other system, then the Opcenter scheduling system is able to create those orders on behalf of the products table and demand files. And at the end, of course, we also need a bill of material. So this indicates how to link the several items. So if we start final assemble this specific bike, we need a saddle, we need the frame, we need a couple of wheels, and we need a pedal assembly. Okay, so let's have a look at the scheduling system itself. We are going to generate a schedule, and now this is what we now see is the predefined sequencer window. On top, you will see here you can see the Gantt chart. On top, you will see the horizon. In this case, a couple of weeks in the future, could be also months in the future. On the left-hand side, you can see the resources, which we are going to assign operations to. To gain more overview, you're able to drag and drop these windows next to each other, if you like. If you want to use multiple screens, you can split these windows and divide the content over multiple monitors, for example. And you can also, of course, you can predefine your own settings in whatever way you like. So the one thing I did not explain yet is the supply records here. So as you can see, this indicates our purchase order. Purchase order number 17 is due to be delivered on the 11th of January. And here we can see the demand files. So here you can see there is a sales order where we need to deliver 25 cyclocross bikes for client number 8 on the 18th of January. So on the right-hand side, you can see the unscheduled operations, and each and every order has one color assigned, so we can define these colors ourselves. As seen before, we can also add more colors to this bar. For example, if we like to see which kind of metal is used. And on top of that, there is also a tip tool available. Again, fully configurable. If you want to have more or less information, you can manage that yourself. So let's here's filter on the cut tubes, which is the first operation of the frame making. As you can see, I can zoom in, zoom out. I can swipe, I can enlarge or make it smaller again. So this is really useful if you want to have more insight into a specific area. So now I can drag and drop this operation onto my Gantt chart. I'm able to do this on metal 1, metal 2, but I'm not able to do this on the wheel assembly, for example. So the system is aware of the what we call the valid resources. You can completely manually drag and drop these operations if you like, and we can do it automatically as well, of course. So this is what we see. Here you can see it will occupy the finite capacity of your resources. This type of frame needs a 6061 aluminium, while this one uses a titanium, and this one again uses an aluminium. So therefore there is a changeover time here. There is also a green bar, green text here. When I highlight this order, you can see there is a red dotted line here connected to this purchase order number 17. So actually, while I was drag and dropping this operation, the system warned me that I did something wrong. So in this case, I will drag and drop this one in between. There's no changeover time involved anymore, and the green text is disappeared because the supply is in already when I like to start this order. So of course we can do that manually for the complete set of orders, but most of the time people don't want to do that. So what we are going to do is we are going to select one of these orders here. Let's see, sales order number 14, for example. I asked to highlight all previous operations. So the system now indicates that you need a frame here. You need to do the assemble of your hub. You need to create your pedalacy. You need to create your rim. And then afterwards, you're able to final assembly the bike. So when I schedule these orders, individual orders at once, you can see that Projector system will automatically assign the individual operations to the valid resources. It will also respect the operation sequence, so cut tubes, weld tubes, paint tubes. In this case, you're not able to assemble the wheels if the hubs are not available, if the rims are not available. And as you can see here, the pedal assembly is waiting for a supply. And I will show you when I drag and drop this one a little bit to the left. You can see here there is a red dotted line, and the pattern changed due to the fact that it is scheduled too early. So this final assembly here is waiting because there are no people available. So when I drag and drop it in a little bit to the left-hand side, you can see that it will give me a warning that my people are not available. So I'm not allowed to do this. It does not make sense to do it. Of course, you're allowed, but it does not make sense. Okay, so then there is also a possibility to not schedule forwards, but in this case backwards. So let's change the sequence into backwards, unschedule all these orders, and then reschedule. So in this case, it will take into consideration the delivery date, and it will sequence backwards. And as you can see, it only takes us 2 days to produce this set of bikes. So in this case, this is the shortest lead time possible, which of course also allows you to align your logistics. So you don't need to buy all these components if this is the earliest start date for this order. Which allows you to save a lot of money as well. So the schedule now, we are going to schedule these orders based on a forward sequence, and I like to sort them based on the priority of the orders. So when I schedule my orders, you can see it takes me only 2 seconds, 3 seconds to schedule all my orders at once. The priority is not the best sequence. As you can see here, there's a lot of red dotted text. The scheduled statistics also indicate that we only reach a almost 90% delivery performance if we schedule based on the priority of the order. So I like to change that into a due date of the order. So I like to sequence them on due date, and I will test it again. Takes me 2 seconds. Scheduled statistics indicates that there is a 100% delivery performance, which is fine for me. So next, I like to reduce my setup time because this is well, non-value added activity. Setup is not producing anything. So what I like to do, I like to change my sequence. In this case, I want to sort them based on the specific metal I use. As said before, I used steel, titanium, aluminium, and each and every time I use a different kind of metal, I need to change my machines. So let's have a look at the, let's get rid of this one for a sec, sorry. No. So let's change the color settings for a second. So in this case, I want to see the metal I'm using. So each and every color indicates a different kind of metal. So once I reschedule my orders, you can see that the system will now try to adhere as much as possible a sequence. So it starts with the green ones, then go to the blue ones, and then go to the purple ones. The reason why this one is here is because of the material availability. As you can see, there is a connection with this supply order as well. So this is a very efficient order sequence. So we reduce the number of setup times into 21 hours, which is the most efficient one. But again, the delivery performance is not very good. So I like to combine these two indicators. So not only the metal I'm using, but also the due date will be of importance. And then I will schedule a new one. And as you can see, it will mix a little bit. But as a result, the delivery performance is 100%, and the setup time is now 1 day, almost 2 days. So if I want to furthermore investigate, we have these reports available. So we can open this KPI report. I already saved some of these schedules before, so combination compared to the due date, for example. And now the system will calculate the KPIs. So here you can see a little bit less setup time. Delivery performance is exactly the same, but we save 2,000 euros on manufacturing costs. So again, what we did is we created 4 or 5 scenarios within a couple of minutes. So I had the right information to make the best decision. So this is the schedule I like to release to the shop floor. So what I will do is I will close this this environment. I will save it, and now I will release my schedule. And by releasing the schedule, you will publish the information to another system. Could be a shop floor data collection system, could be an MES system, could be an ERP system. If you do not have a system in place, then we can also supply you with what we call a shop floor data system ourselves. So imagine this is the report which is published on the shop floor. So I will show it from the project owner, the Opcenter scheduling environment, but in real life, this is shown on the shop floor. So I'm an operator, I'm going to work on metal 2, and I ask the system, can you supply me the latest information? So this is the information I'm looking for. So this is my work to list for today. As you can see, I can set orders in progress. I can stop. I can complete orders, and this information can be fed back into the scheduling system, so that we are able to update the schedule based on color settings, based on operation properties, and that kind of stuff. So again, we saved your planner a lot of time because normally he or she needs to go to the shop floor itself to see if they already produced specific works orders, yes or no. So last but not least, if the economy will become normal again, then most of the customers require a very short lead time. And what you're able to do if you what the system allows you to do is what we call a order inquiry. So in this case, the customer's on the phone. I didn't enter this order in my ERP system yet because they didn't confirm yet. So therefore, I will put in a test order, and they like to buy, let's say, this road frame. They want to have 15 of these. So what the system does now, it will calculate the number of orders needed to produce this set of bikes. So for example, the wheels, they are already available, so they don't need, it does not suggest you to make wheels, but it does suggest you to make pedals and that kind of stuff. And based on the available capacity, you're able to promise a delivery date of the 26th of January. And it also suggests you to purchase some items because you're short of, let's say, saddles or something like that. So, long story short, I think it's very beneficial for each and every customer to use a system like this instead of Excel. You're able to combine information from different departments in one single source. You can schedule your plan as a team effort. So it's not only the planner that is involved, but also operations, human resources, logistics. And actually, this system captures all these items into one system. Not sure if there are any questions.
Yes, we have got a couple of questions. So first up, can Opcenter scheduling be used as a standalone system and only import sales and supply orders from ERP?
Yes, that's very common. So not all people do have a proper ERP system. So if they supply us with supply records like purchase orders and stock files, and if we know their sales orders, then we can explode the products BOM as well as the products routings by the use of the system. So we can definitely help those people as well.
All right, next question. Is the planner able to manage the planned and unplanned downtime themselves?
Yes, indeed. So let's show that as well. So for each and every resource, we do have a calendar template. So for example, this is the Metal 2 template. So if there is a need for, let's say, a maintenance in starting from the 12th till the 13th, for example. You can maintain that yourself here in this Outlook look and feel calendar template. So if we have a look at metal 2, you can see now there is a dotted area here behind. So maybe I can change that into another color as well. So for breakdown, for example, so you can see there is a red dotted line here. So as a result, this order will become longer, and therefore your sequence it's out of sequence now, because if you are willing to shape your rims here, and you're going to paint them, and you are going to weld them, shape rims here, okay, maybe there's no issue here. But if there is a relationship with another operation, then again you are able to validate your schedule. There is a sequence error indicating here, so now we are able to repair the schedule again, and everything is now adjusted based on this exception. So updating a schedule is much more important than creating a schedule, in my opinion, because updating is much more complex. So you need to have an up-to-date schedule, not only when you launch your schedule, but continuously.
Okay, next question is, can you create a pecking order for a resource pool like machines, such that it selects the most desirable one first, but if not available, it selects the secondary one?
Yeah, well, what we can apply is what we call preferred sequences. So we can apply preferred sequence rules based on the number of attribute fields. For example, if we start producing, we like to start with the smallest parts and then go to the larger parts, or the other way around. And that rule will test if there is an order available that should be scheduled first. If not, it will skip that one and go to the second one.
Okay, and does that also work for machines?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it possible to start the next operation before finishing the whole batch of the current operation?
Yeah, especially when you do have large orders. So I assume you're going to produce not 10 frames, but let's say 200 frames at once. Then some companies desire to start the second operation before the first is completely finished. So assume we're going to cut those tubes. Once a box of tubes is completed, then you can bring that box to the next station and you can already start welding these tubes. That's what we call transfer batching. You can model that yourself within the system as well.
Okay, and the last question is, does it give me a warning if material shortages occur?
Well, of course, yeah, good question. So let's assume that this order, and I will maintain this order within the system. Normally this is supplied, of course, by an ERP system, but assume that this purchase order number 17, the supplier is not able to supply us with 1,500 pieces, but is only able to supply us with 1,000 pieces. So what I will do next is to change the operation properties into materials. So what we can see is that all the orders are green, except from a couple of orders which are almost orange, a little bit pink. So these have shortages, but we allowed the system to ignore these shortages. So, but based on the change I made in this purchase order, I am now able to what we call pack my materials. So once I've packed my materials, the system will now indicate that you're not able to produce these two orders because of shortages. So when we have a look at the Material Explorer, you will see that in this case, for this specific sales order, production order, which is connected to this sales order, you need to assemble all these components. One of the components is the rope frame. So when I when I click on this road frame, you can already see there is an indication of shortages. So this road frame needs tubes, and I only have 245 tubes available. So that makes we have 85 tubes short. So now the system also uses what we call the FIFO system, so first in, first out. So you still do have a little bit of time to manage this shortage. So if you are able to purchase more tubes, next time you can enter these into the ERP system, and then once we imported these, then these red colored bars will become green again. If you're not able, you should decide to reschedule. So you're not able to schedule these orders because there are shortages. So we can either unschedule these orders and all related components, but we can also, for example, freeze the next couple of days, then unschedule everything which is beyond this freeze period, and then reschedule. And now you will see that some of the orders are not able to be scheduled due to these shortages. Okay.
Okay, and that's the last of the questions.
Okay, thank you so much. So if you do want a full demo, then please leave your name in the panel, or maybe we will call you to find out if there's a need for a more specific demo, maybe based on your own environment. We're happy to help you. So I think we are able to close, Tom.
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for attending, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.